Hayakamashite. My name is Penelope Emmanuel Gray, also known as Mighty Voice, Wegaska. Thank you for listening to me today with what I have to say about the Native American people. But I will tell you this. I am recording from home, so if my ideas are a little bit crazy and out of whack, please forgive me. Just try the best you can to follow along. But all right, here we go. So I'm part Native American, if you couldn't tell. A lot of people can't tell because they automatically assume I'm white. And that's understandable, I'm mixed. My mother's white, my father's Native American. And we are part of the Nakota. And our band name is called Carry the Kettle, and we are located on a reservation up in Saskatchewan, Canada. Our other reservation goes into Montana, also known as Fort Belknap, which I'm pretty sure you've heard of if you are educated and you go live in Montana if you've been here for a while. But today I would like to discuss about our Native American people and our Native American culture in modern times. Let me repeat myself. I'm very frustrated and concerned about our image as a people of Native Americans when it comes to white people. I don't know why, but there's still this image in people's head that we walk around with headdresses on and that we look like the old times. We have evolved too with, the future, with times now. We've evolved. We're not still living in teepees. We still have teepees, don't get me wrong. We still do that kind of stuff for, cultural events and such. But it's not like the old times. We've evolved with the modern times as well. And being someone, who's part white, a lot of times people don't understand that I'm also Native American and that I identify as a Native American. I have so many friends who've told me, Penelope, you're not Native American, you're white. I've heard so many people, including my own mother, being like, Penelope, you're not Native American, you are white, you will be white. I'm so sick and tired of this identity theft from my people and from me. Just because someone may look like something does not mean they are culturally. This whole idea of the, 50%, the quarter Native American, that is all false. You either are or you aren't. Let's say this, you take a black person, for example. If someone tells you you're part black, they're automatically gonna be like, oh, you're black. There's never this bullshit of, oh, I'm half black. Oh, I'm a quarter black. Oh, I'm a 16th black. There's never that. And I would like to address today the frustration I have for my Native Americans who are part white, such as myself. And I have cousins who are more, looking like the stereotypical trait of a Native American that get more respect from white people. They all say bullshit until I pull out my treaty card, that shows that I am most definitely on the list of names of the band. But I would like to discuss that just because someone may look white does not mean they are. When someone says they are Native American, they have, when someone says they're Native American, when someone has that culture identity, do not tear that down. Do not take that away from them. Do not whitewash them like those before you have tried. I come from a family who, back in the day, when the people are going around putting them into institutional schools, trying to untrain them from their wild nativeness, I would just like to say that you're wrong. You can't whitewash us just because we look a certain type of way. Do not try to paint me as something I am not. I have a mom, she's white. My dad's Native American. She, very much growing up, had a very hard time with my identity as a Native American. She did not want me to be Native American. She did not want my brothers to be Native American. She did not want us to have anything to do with our reservation or our practices. This was very hard for me because I was very interested in learning my identity and who I am. What I'd like to say is that times have changed, the people have changed, we've also evolved with the times. I'm not going to be walking around with, a headdress on and such. I'm me. I am Mighty Voice. And I'm a part of the Indigenous people. This is an issue I've heard from a lot of other Native Americans. We're tired of this whole quarter, this whole half, this whole white idea of what we are or we're not when we know our identity. This has gone on for far too long. And with this, I would like to continue to May 5th. May 5th is known as No More Stolen Sisters Day. As you can see on my shirt, it is the Native American shirt where it shows No More Stolen Sisters with the hand over the mouth. There is a crisis going on in the United States and Canada, and I'm sure in Mexico and other places too, where young Indigenous Native American women are being stolen and taken away from their families and reservations. You know, it's really unfortunate. I knew a girl named Jada. She was taken away from the Crow Reservation, and no one knows where she is. No one has heard from her or where she's gone from this day since. And in honor of May 5th, for the awareness of all the missing sisters I've had, I'd like to say that this is an issue we have to address. Native American women are more likely to be murdered or raped or go missing than any other race. Why is this? Why must my sisters be stolen and be discarded like trash while other people, get immediate help? This is wrong, America. This is wrong, people. We must find a way to fix this. Why must it be the people whose land you're on have to still suffer to this day when it comes to these situations? People think the war of race with Native Americans is over, but it's not. Our women are being taken away. They go missing. They're murdered. They're killed. They're raped by big oil companies. Our sacred lands are taken away. Look at the oil pipeline in North Dakota. All of this are just examples of how we're still out of war. I just would like to bring awareness to this whole missing thing with all the sex trafficking of the Native American women. When I was little, I was told I had to be very careful. And, every girl's taught that. Every girl, every boy. And I wish that wasn't the world we lived in. I wish our world was not like this. I wish we could paint it and be like, this isn't an issue, but it is. And it's an issue in the fact that a large portion of the people that take my sisters away are white men, white rich men, specifically in the oil mines. They take them away, they give them to these white men, so these people working on the oil rigs can rape them and have sex with them. These girls are taken away into sex trafficking. It's terrible. And that's why I say no more stolen sisters, because it's really hard, especially when you have family members or friends such as my friend Jada, who was taken away and who to this day has not been found. It's very hard. Yeah. But on with that, I would also like to discuss about the amazing fact of how our culture today still is being misused, and how our sacred practices and our image is being used and stolen from us. Why is it okay for my people to be used as a mascot and for logos, but then be treated like shit on reservations and tried to be wiped out? Why is it okay for the government to not still uphold their treaties from back far when they first arrived here, and we still don't have our land back, and we're still stuck on reservations? Do you realize that Native Americans are so much in poverty still to this day? So many Native Americans are stuck with drugs. It's like the ghetto with black people. The reservations are literally death camps. A lot of them. Some of them are getting better. My reservation has made leaps and bounds to bring education in to help us. But something I find very unfortunate is, instead of trying to help us, the white people and other people, they all turn a blind eye. It's up to my people to have to help again. The thing is, no one wants to listen to my people. And it's very hard. It's hard. I was talking to someone yesterday, a really dear friend. Her name was Kaylee. She's this really amazing white girl from Michigan. She goes to my school. She was asking me, she wanted to learn all about my Native culture. We played songs. I played songs for her. I showed her stuff, and she was genuinely curious. She was like, I never knew this much about Native Americans. She asked me questions about history, things that she never learned in school. things that people swept under the rug, the victors, things that the victims never got to say. She said, I had no idea the Native Americans had this happening. I had no idea that this was in your culture. I had no idea. And she asked me this, why is it that the people who originally were from this country, why is so little known about them? And I looked at her and I said, I don't know. It's because they didn't want us to survive killing. They wanted us to be exterminated. They wanted us to be wiped out. They did not want us to survive. They did not want us to be here. I am a sign that we survived. I am a sign that we are still here. And all of my sisters and brothers, we are all signs that we are still here. And, she was shocked and she was like, okay, well, how are we supposed to fix this? How are we supposed to help? And I looked at her and I said, by awareness, by using your voice, by standing with us, by helping us, by finding ways to spread the word, by finding ways to find, to make unity with us, by trying to help us. And she said, okay. And she said to me, it's true. There's very much a lack of awareness everywhere. In fact, I'll tell you the story. So I go to the school, right? And we have dorm wars. And it's this thing where, the dorms compete against each other and such and such and such. And, every dorm has a certain theme you have to dress up as. And so I'm excited, right? I'm like, okay, this is going to be fun. We're going to go have dorm wars and have water balloon fights and I'm going to win and we're going to take the other dorms down, etc., etc., etc. Until I found out one of the themes was to dress up as Native American. But they didn't use the term Native American or Indigenous, which is the correct term to use, the nicest term to use. They used as Indians, like we're from India. And I looked and I said, what the fuck is this? A lot of white people don't realize this, but a lot of indigenous people, there are so many tribes, so many different cultures, so many different practices. It's like me saying all Europeans have the same culture. All Europeans have the same practice. The Germans have the same practice as the French. They all have the same culture. But no, it's not. It's not like that. The Assiniboine were much different than the Crow. The Crow were much different than the Blackfeet. The Blackfeet were much different from the Shoshone. These people were all their own different cultures and their own different people. Just because we all look the same, we fall under the same thing of Indians or the indigenous. But anyways, with that aside, I freak out, right? Because I'm just like, really? They're gonna have all these white people dress up as Native Americans? That's not right. That doesn't sit well with me. So I obviously freak out and I go to the head lady and I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? Why is there the theme being dressed up as Native Americans? This is like Halloween time when all these people dress up as Native Americans with the powwow headdress and the fake chicken feathers with all these sacred practice pieces that aren't even, meant to be a costume. But anyways, I go to her and I'm like, so why is this happening? And she's like, I was like, why are we dressing them as Native Americans? That's wrong, to the RD. And she told me, Penelope, Native Americans aren't really here anymore. And I looked at her and I told her, I'm part Native American. I am Nakota. How can you tell me we're not here anymore? We're all around you. We're everywhere. She said, I could never tell because you look kind of white. And I was so mad. If I couldn't tell you. And the fact she said that we weren't here anymore when there's literally a Seminole reservation in Florida. There's tribes in Florida too. There's tribes everywhere. She was like, the fact she said when there's a reservation less than 15 minutes away called Seminole, it just blew my mind. And I realized how uneducated these people are about my culture and my people when it was our land. You know what I'm saying? And so I sat there and I thought to myself, had this been the theme of, Let's let everyone dress as black people. It would have automatically been racist in blackface. But then why is it okay suddenly when it's Native Americans? Why is it suddenly okay for people to put war paint on their face, the headdresses on their head, the chicken feathers, the fake buckskin, the things that actually have spiritual meaning? Why is it okay for someone who doesn't know anything about my culture to wear a ribbon skirt? So I asked myself these questions, and I was like, dang, I really live in a backwards world where, the white man won. He really did erase our culture practically, because all these white people don't know squat. All these people don't know squat. I'd be sitting there and I'm like, dang, okay, so this woman doesn't think Native Americans are here anymore. No one thinks there's anything wrong with this. Yada, 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 yada. And I was like, damn. But anyways, it's crazy. But I think what would really help us would be more education, especially if, there were more classes people were forced to take. Not forced, but, if they were a required class you'd have to take for class, for example, to, sorry, I'm like running out of time. I work at 5. I work at this taco place, really good tacos. But anyways, if, I lost my train of thought. But basically, education's key. If there's a required class for us to learn about our indigenous people, or the people that were here before you, or the people that were here before us, it's not a battle of us and you. We have to come together. We have to help these people. They need help. Especially on the reservations that have low income and have the crack and meth issues. Especially the children who are not learning their culture. Especially the children that are being taken away, raped, and murdered by white people. Especially the young girls and the young women being taken away, being raped and murdered by people who run the oil fields. So I think education's key, because so many people don't even know this is happening. So many people let it slide under their nose. So many people don't understand. I went to Disney World a little bit ago again with Kaylee, my best friend. She's in Michigan now, but we were talking about our favorite Disney princesses, and hers was Cinderella. And she asked me what was mine. I was like, oh, Merida, the Scottish girl, or the Scottish girl, et cetera, et cetera. And she was like, really? Why isn't it Pocahontas? And then I had to teach her an understanding. Pocahontas, so many people have a misinterpretation of Pocahontas. Pocahontas was our first stolen sister. Our first stolen sister that was taken away from her land and raped at 12 years old. Let's take it this way. There's a little white girl who's 12 years old. She's taken away, she's stolen from her family, and she's raped repeatedly by different men. She can never see her family again. And then let's say Disney finds out about this story and decides to make a romanticized tale about it in this modern day. Who would stand for that? No one would stand for that. But since it's an indigenous woman that's romanticized and sexualized, it's okay suddenly. But if it was a little white girl in this day and age, Pocahontas would not be a Disney movie or a romanticized story. Sorry if I'm sounding harsh and mean. It's just hard to talk about this and get it off my chest, because it just makes me sad, the amount of ignorance that I see with these people that don't understand about the people that were here first, when it's their land and such. It's hard. It's hard to swallow. It's hard to understand. And to me, if you're not using your voice to spread the awareness, then you are not an ally. You are an enemy, because you were bystanding the entire time, especially when you find out about this information. But the issue is, so many people don't know about this information because a lot of people are not educated. So dear white people, dear black people, dear everyone, I get it. I'm part white and I'm part Native American. I come from both sides of the spectrum. On one side, you're like, damn, oh God, it's a Native American again, acting like a victim. Why don't they just help themselves out? We're dealing with systemic racism. We're dealing with a system that didn't want us. We're dealing with a system that wanted us extinct. We're not dealing with some, simple thing like squishing a bug. We're dealing with a war on our people, still to this day. It might not be smallpox today. It might not be, the fact that our people are being killed on the reservations. Well, they are. They're still being killed. You have people being killed. A ton of Native Americans go work in uranium mines and they die. I see death everywhere. They die. There's, stuff getting in their lungs. We have people dying on the reservation still from the meth and the drugs. You can say it's their fault. You can victim blame. But the bottom line is there's help that's needed. Anyways, thank you so very much for your time. I very much appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. My name is Penelope Emmanuel Gray, and I very much appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.